Hello and welcome. Today we'll be talking a little bit about culture and human tendencies. God created human beings and human beings created culture by the will of God. Even though some cultural practices are beneficial for humanities, there is no doubt that some of them are impediment to human progress. Before we go any further, let us define what is culture. According to Merriam-Webster dictionary, culture is the customary beliefs, social forms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social groups. We just defined culture, but how does culture develop? Different social groups have different systems of beliefs and forms, and beliefs and forms change from generation to generations. That being said, cultural practices change uniform from time to time. When we are born into one culture, we automatically absorb and internalize the beliefs of the culture we born into without any question, and that culture becomes our personal identity and basis of our values and beliefs. When we encounter other cultures that are quite opposite from the one we are born into, we try many things. We might try to change that culture. We might try to assimilate and abandon our old culture. We might keep our old culture and just get along with the new culture. Or at the worst scenario, we might go to war to just change the ideological basis of the culture that is quite opposite to ours. Don't go for it, just read some history. My point here is not to press on culture, but to talk about the irrationality that's plaguing humanity. I am going to start by questioning why animals go to fight when they meet with different groups of the same species. When two groups of chimpanzees that are led by two alpha males meet, the outcome is disastrous. The two groups fight furiously to chase out the rival group from the area. But do we question the motive why those chimpanzees fight? The most common answer might be yes, they fight over territory. You are not mistaken. They fight over territory because chimpanzees are territorial animals. But why would they fight over territory? What motivates them to fight? To answer this question, first we need to look deep down into the nature of animal behaviors. To make my point clear, I do not have any expertise in animal behavior, but I use my common sense and I conduct some research to support my claims. Back to our points. Why do animals fight? Animals have two main purposes in the span of their lives: A, to survive, and B, to procreate. In order to survive, animals need resources, and they get their resources from the territory they occupy. But when they meet with different groups, their biological mode of survival turns on. They fight to defend their territory so that they can have more access to resources for survival and access to mates so that they can procreate and pass on their genes to the next generation. According to science, these types of motivation has to do with evolution, but what's about human beings? Is the same evolutionary process in display? Do we follow the same instinct, or do we follow different behaviors when we encounter other groups of people that look slightly different from us and do not share common values? Unlike animals, human beings have God-given intellectual abilities. Most of our behaviors is product of instinctual and intellectual outcomes, but sometimes we are succumb to our irrational behavior than we are to our intelligence when our irrational behavior take over completely. Most of the time, the outcome is disastrous. Assume that in the middle of a jungle, you came across two groups of people whom you never met before. You are hungry and it's getting dark. You are looking for shelter to spend the night. You look at those two groups of people, and they completely look different from one another. Even though they speak the same language, they have different skin color. One of the group members have lighter skin color. Their hair look different, and the second group is completely opposite to the first group, and you resemble just like the members of the second group. If you are like most of the people, you will choose to spend the night with the groups that look like you. So your choice is rational than it is intellectual. You instinctively prefer to affiliate with a group whom members look like you. This kind of instinct sometimes does not serve humanity. Because when you form groups based on the look and language, fight and competition always looms on the horizon. We will be back shortly. Welcome back. We'll be continuing by questioning, why do human beings go to fight? Human beings, unlike animals, go to fight for different kinds of reasons. They go to war in the name of political ideology. They go to war in the name of tribalism. They go to war in the name of race. They go to war to defend a piece of land. In World War II, Adolf Hitler imprisoned and killed over 6 million Jewish in the name of race. But the question is, how did Hitler succeed in convincing the public that with his infamous ideology that native Germans are superior to all other races? To answer this question, we need to look into the nature of human behavior. Human beings are both rational and irrational beings. As we stated earlier, animals follow their instinct to survive. Those instincts are very strong, but do human beings follow the same pattern? We will answer these questions shortly. First, human beings have a strong propensity to form social groups and have strong needs to affiliate with existing groups. But when they form groups based on culture, language, and race, the bond between the members of the groups is almost like that of biological families. The members of the groups form strong bonds between one another, but when they encounter other groups that do not share common values and groups that look quite different, they create implicit and explicit irrational barrier. Then stereotyping and all sorts of prejudice becomes inevitable. It is not only in the Western Hemisphere that humanity is suffering the worst human biases and atrocities. In Africa, Rwanda in 1994, almost 1 million people died in the name of tribes. In the South Sudan, Denka tribes versus Nuer, and so on. All this tribalism, racism follow the same pattern. They all spring from human tendencies that has no base in human intellectual. Do not quote me wrong. We human beings are gifted with intelligence. We always have the ability to monitor and correct our actions and behaviors that do not serve the interests of humanity. Let not our differences become a reason to annihilate one another, but work together for the betterment of humanity. Thank you, and see you on the upcoming video. Bye.